Good morning. I am Senator Chip Curry, and I will be presiding over the work session on the Joint Standing Committee on Innovation Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. The purpose of this meeting is for the committee to receive information from staff and others in order for members to consider the legislative proposals before them and make recommendations or reports to the legislature. Only committee members, the committee analysts, and those specifically invited to attend will be participating in the work session using Zoom. For members of the public wishing to observe this meeting, it is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel and will also be recorded for viewing after this meeting is concluded. We are also broadcasting the audio of this meeting on the legislature's website, www.legislature.maine.gov. The YouTube live stream of this meeting, which is accessible to the public, begins at the scheduled start time for the work session and will remain on until the end of the day's work. If your video and audio is on, as a reminder, even if the committee is not then in active session or is on break, the public can see and hear you. So please check your mute for video and your mute for audio. Please, I want to just double check. We all got names up with our titles so people know how to address us. We've been very good at that. We know how we're getting the hang of this. Although as soon as I say we're getting the hang of this, something will happen. So please be patient if you are on the attendee list or watching. Technical glitches do happen and we will patiently work through them. This is a public meeting, and I must remind everyone that while we are meeting, discussions must happen on screen and not by way of the Zoom chat. That is left for technical issues with the clerk. So if you are having technical difficulties, please contact the committee clerk. We'll try to help to resolve those issues. At this point, I'd like to invite the members to introduce themselves. Representative Geiger, would you start us off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. My name is Representative Valley Geiger. I represent District 93, Rockland and Owl's Head.
Good morning. I'm Representative John Andrews. I represent District 73 in Western Maine, Buckfield, Hebron, and Paris.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Pebworth. I represent the Blue Hill Peninsula, including Blue Hill, Brooksville, Brooklyn, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amanda Collmore. I represent House District 106, Pittsfield, Clinton, and Detroit.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Jack Ducharme. I represent House District 111, which is the towns of Norridgewock, Madison, and Solon.
Good morning, Maine. I'm Representative Sue Austin from my hometown of Gray. I also have the privilege of representing portions of the town of Raymond, the town of Casco, and I do have Olive Fry Island in Big Sebago Lake.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reagan LaRochelle, and I represent House District 86, which is part of Augusta.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Bernard. I represent Caribou, Westmanland, and New Sweden, the home of these beautiful northern lights.
Hey everyone, I'm Representative Tiffany Roberts, representing House District 6, which is the majority of North Berwick and South Berwick, and I'm also your House Chair.
And good morning, everyone. My name again is Senator Chip Curry. I represent Senate District 11, which includes the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County, home to the Belfast Curling Club.
Wow.
At this point, I want to introduce our committee clerk, who will be managing all the technical aspects of the Representative Andrews. Did I forget someone?
No, Mr. Chair. Just a point of order. I understand that you and Representative Ducharme are going to a groundbreaking today, which is great. I was hoping we could clarify if Chair Roberts has an emergency and had to leave, who the gavel would go to. I'm not sure. And on top of that, we have 2 new members, so I'm not sure if we want to go over rules. And on top of that, I don't remember ever approving rules for the committee as a body. Just maybe some housekeeping stuff we should talk about before we get into it. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to introduce, I'm going to introduce the folks here, and then I'll come back to you, Representative Andrews. So our first our first person I'd like to introduce is our committee clerk, who is Eva Reed. Eva, if you mind sharing your screen, thank you. And she'll be handling all of the technical dynamics with the Zoom today and recording of the votes. Our second person is our committee analyst, who we'll hear a lot from today, which is Representative Rachel Olson, who serves with OPLA and serves this committee. So, Representative Andrews, to your question, we at last break, our last committee work session, I think you saw in real time that I was surprised that in terms of the rules related to the gavel, and I've since been able to check on those rules. And so the rules are up to the discretion of the chair. And if that happens today, I would anticipate that if I had to leave, then I would be, and Representative Robert, I'm sorry, if I was here and Representative Roberts was not, I would plan on handing it over to Representative Pebworth. And I believe that would be up to the House chair if that was, and it would be up to her discretion if that was, if I was not here. So,
Why would that not go to the ranking member?
the rules do not require that.
Could you send that to me in writing, a copy of the rules, please?
You can check through your leadership, and you can check through your leadership or the parliamentary staff. But
Is there
those
any
are-
way that our analysts could possibly bring up the rules on file just to verify?
I'm gonna call that out of order, and I'm gonna say we're gonna move on. You can work through your leadership if you have a question on that. So we'll be moving on to so further introductions, not introductions, but further reminders. Members of the body will speak with leave of the chair. Let's see, voting. All voting will need to be voting that happens here will need to be voice and with video. And so if you have a technical issue, I do remind everybody of the rule that allows people to vote after the fact by going to their respective presiding officers' offices. I think we still, Ms. Olson, I want to confirm with you that people still have 2 days. Is that correct? For any delayed vote?
Please check with Ms. Reed.
Ms. Reed.
She's responsible for the voting.
Ms. Reed.
Second business day at noon.
Second business day at noon. At this point, I'll open up the work session on LD 1793. And I'm going to ask Ms. Olson to give us an analysis.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I just to let you know, I did email out the materials for this morning shortly before the meeting began. So you can access everything that I have available to share with you today in that email. I will upload it through the testimony portal later today for future reference. I am correct where you just opened 1793, I believe. So I'm going to share my screen with the bill analysis and we'll start from there. Just a moment. So we're starting this morning with LD 1793, which is an act to support statewide economic recovery through strategic investments. This bill authorizes the Department of Economic and Community Development through the Maine Economic Development Fund to make strategic investments through loans or direct equity investments in economic development projects that support economic and business growth, rural manufacturing and industrial site redevelopment, and implementation of a strategic plan. I have put down who testified in favor, and no one testified or no testimony was provided in opposition. And those who testified neither for nor against with a brief summary, but please check original testimony for specific details. So in regards to potential issues or technical problems, the only thing I'll note is that during testimony by DECD, as this is a department bill, they notified the committee that they had identified an accounting issue in the original text of the bill that they indicated would need to be resolved in order for the bill to have its intended effect. In this case, the bill text specifically addresses one fund, which it turned out is not fungible with the accounts containing the Federal American Recovery Plan funds. DECD was working on the issue at the time of the public hearing, and they have submitted an amendment that addresses this issue That amendment was emailed to the committee yesterday. It's also linked on the bill analysis and was sent separately in the email this morning as well. And DECD's Deputy Commissioner and Legislative Liaison are with us today and can discuss the changes as well. And I'm happy to go over the amendment with the committee also. There was one specific question that I was asked to look into, and the question was, would this allow DECD to disperse ARPA funds without legislative authority? Commissioner Johnson reached out after the public hearing to share this information, and I've pulled the additional details for the committee. But the Federal Rescue Plan Act funds are issued for use under LD 1733, which is Public Law 2021, Chapter 483. This was an act to provide allocations for the distribution of state fiscal recovery funds from last session. The bill outlines what the funds need to be used for and outlines the parameters of how the legislature wants the funds used. And so the department will only operate programs within that legislation. I did a quick search, a term search for DECD throughout LD 1733, and you can find information specifically related to DECD and DECD programs in the following parts, which are, of course, a number of them. And some of them we'll be talking about later today in other bills as well. There's no fiscal impact statement issued as of yet. And for additional information regarding DECD, I did attach the DECD GEA report. And I'll just take this moment to note that that is on the website under GEA report materials. And we will be hearing from DECD on Tuesday regarding that report. So that's what I have for you in terms of the bill analysis. I'm happy to answer questions at this time.
Are there any questions for Ms. Olson? Seeing none. Are there any questions for the bill sponsor or from Representative Pepworth?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm hoping, assuming that we can have someone from DECD explain talk us through the amendment.
And excellent. I see that Denise Garland is in the attendee list, as well as Phoenix McLaughlin. If Ms. Reed, if you could promote Ms. Garland and Mr. McLaughlin into the panelist. I believe it's Ms. Garland who's going to speak to the issue, but I want to make sure we have both if we need them. Ms. Olson.
Would you like me to put the amendment on the screen?
I would, yes. Okay. If you could do that.
And I'd just like to remind the committee that in regards to amendments, I can't bring them forward until the committee asks me to. I know that might seem a little awkward. I mentioned it, but until I'm formally asked, I can't actually bring it forward.
Ms. Olson, would you bring forward the amendment? And welcome, Ms. Garland.
Good morning. I believe the commissioner may be trying to join as well, so I don't want to go stepping on toes here.
She is she's in the attendee list now.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. If you could promote Commissioner Heather Johnson.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, so it's going to look a little. Everyone's going to jump views. Okay, just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay, and let's see. Actually, let's unshare for a moment. I want to welcome Commissioner Johnson. Thank you. Would you like to talk us through this, or did you want to hand off to a staff member to talk us through the?
Commissioner Garland, if that would be okay, Senator Curry.
That would be. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we start going through the amendment?
Not at this point. Thank you, though.
Okay. Welcome, Ms. Garland, Deputy Commissioner.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. So yes, we appreciate the opportunity to bring forth the amendment, which we think is a better approach to what we were trying to do with this piece of legislation. I think we explained the original legislation, put it in a specific fund, allowing us to make investments or to provide grants directly to businesses. Looking at all the funding that's coming down through the American Recovery Act, we feel that it's going to be a better use of our directive and be able to make an efficient and effective use of those funds and get them into the marketplace quickly if we can provide those funds directly to businesses. The amendment puts that language in a section under the duties of the commissioner that follows other statutory guidance. I'll take a step back and say when we worked on the CARES Act funding last year, the economic development districts were incredibly helpful, but what we found was we had to use existing statutory authority to get the money out into the marketplace, and we did not have the authority to provide money directly to businesses. And so we went through the economic development districts and they were phenomenal, but I'm afraid we might overwhelm them with all the funding that's coming down through the American Recovery Act money. And there are some programs that are limited in scope that will allow us to go directly to the businesses. Again, I just reiterate that there is reporting, there is federal guidelines, there is controls and audits and all those things in place. So this is not going to go without oversight. So what we've done is included that language under the Commissioner's Directive, which follows the rest of the guidance for the department. And we've also left in rulemaking ability if we need to do that as well. We also added a reporting section at the end because I think there was some concerns there. So where there isn't reporting already in statute, we would comply with that as well. So I hope that's helpful.
Chair recognizes Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad you brought up rulemaking. That's one of the big questions that I had. So in terms of disbursements of funds, would that rulemaking authority allow, hypothetically for businesses or whoever to get access to the funds to have to comply with any COVID restrictions or mandates put in place by any section of government?
Mr. Chair, may I respond to that one?
Please. Yes.
Thank you. Representatives, thank you for the question. I think rulemaking, right, is a process that takes input from lots of places. There is no requirement at the federal level, and LD 1733 did not put a requirement that any type of specific requirement. The federal requirement does require certain ability to show loss, certain ability to tie to COVID impacts and other things like that. Those wouldn't necessarily go through rulemaking because they're already in law.
But hypothetically, with that rulemaking authority, it could be done if people wanted to do it.
That's right. Rulemaking is there in the event that we need to utilize it. Most of these programs are set out in legislation. We take public input as we establish the program. We close public input. We open a program. We run the program and then we close it. Is what's intended to happen.
Thank you for the answer.
Chair recognizes Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm getting a message that I guess I need you folks to confirm. The bill summary and the amendment has not been shared on the webpage, the portal. And so is there any way we have folks watching, is there any way we can address that? And the amendment that was sent out to us, I guess this morning, was not sent to the interested parties as well. So I'm looking for you folks back there to help address that.
That is correct. As I mentioned this morning, I did not upload information to the testimony portal this morning. It is not standard practice for me to send information out to the IP list so that I share with the committee during the public work session. So if they're watching, they can see what I've shared in committee on the screen, similar to handing out papers in the committee room. It would take me 2 minutes per document at this point to upload them to the testimony portal. I'm happy if you want to give me the time to do that. I'm happy to do it right now, but it will take me significant time.
Ms. Olson, is it possible for you to walk us through the amendment on screen again? You had proposed that earlier, and that way those who are watching can see it.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
As Deputy Commissioner Garland mentioned, so the amendment is they're essentially moving the language from the fund. It had originally been targeted towards a specific fund. Instead, under section 13058, which is duties and responsibilities of the commissioner. So you can see they have, employ and remove staff, accept federal funds, accept grants, and they've added a section 2B to make grants, equity investments, loans, contractual arrangements. And this language is, you'll see, is similar to the bill language, original bill language. So giving them that power and authority I'll just note, it says the commissioner may make a loan or in participation or cooperation with other persons, direct equity investments in grants or loans to, or any other contractual arrangement allowed by law with private companies. And then they're sort of with their purposes as outlined. The department may require satisfactory evidence of matching funds in an amount equal to the state funds invested in whatever form by the department by eligible recipients. So those two elements there. And as they mentioned, they have added section B about adopting rules related to distribution of funds or assistance as outlined in this newly added section 2B. These are routine technical rules, so they would go through the process of developing the rule, holding a public hearing on the rules to get feedback from the public, and developing the final rule. And all final rules are submitted to the legislature for review by the Committee of Jurisdiction. And then, as also mentioned, they added additional reporting guidelines here in K. So the recipients, amounts, and outcomes of grants, loans, or other direct funding made to private entities pursuant to, I'll have to make a technical change to how they refer to this, but to their addition for 2B, for such activities not otherwise reported to the legislature as required by a specific program authorizing statute or appropriation. So you will note, particularly as you look through DECD's GEA evaluation, that they outline the programs that they have, and in each case note whether or not such program has already in place a required reporting requirement. And so we do receive a number of reports, and you might remember from past legislation last session, in particular bills that we created for DECD programs to be run through DECD, that many of them had a reporting requirement, some of which we've already received this session. So this is I think a catch-all sentence to cover any programs that don't already have a statutory reporting requirement. And that's it. It's just the rest of the bill, I think. Yep.
Ms. Olson, Representative Austin specifically asked about the summary. Is there a summary on that yet, or is that written after the fact?
Oh, I'm sorry. There is no summary on this bill as it stands. This the amendment you see in front of you was drafted by DECD, and so I have not put my hands on it. But if the committee moves forward with it and I were to make any technical changes, I would also add the summary.
Thank you.
Although I will just note, sorry, I just want to note for everyone's reminder that a summary on an amendment is the summary of what the amendment does and what it changes from the original bill. They're slightly different.
Right. It's not a summary of the amended bill. Correct?
Right. It's a summary of the changes that were made to the bill.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Senator Curry. Ms. Olson, just to make clear what the amendment does is it strikes the initial bill that was before us, and it's just doing the red line pieces that you showed us in section 13058. Is that correct?
That is correct. This would be considered as what we would call a strike and replace bill. So DECD decided that the language they put forth in the original bill, because it was tied to one specific fund, could not carry out the intent of what they were trying to do. And so they've essentially reallocated that language under the duties of the duties and responsibilities of the commissioner so that they can have more, so that funding isn't directly tied to that one fund and gives them more flexibility, a broader ability to distribute those types of funds, grants, etc.
Are there any further questions for either Commissioner Johnson, Deputy Commissioner Garland, or Mr. McLaughlin? Seeing none, thank you very much. And Ms. Reed, if you can move them to the attendee list. Is the committee ready for a vote or a motion? Not a vote. Are there any, is any discussion? Chair will entertain a motion. Chair recognizes Representative Pebworth.
I would vote this bill as amended.
It's been moved to pass as amended. Is there a second? Second, Representative Geiger. Is there any discussion? Representative Andrews.
Just for me, with the rulemaking provisions, I can't vote for this, so I'll be a no.
Okay. Is the committee ready for a vote? Seeing no hands, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative Geiger,
Yes.
Representative Andrews,
No.
Representative Collmore. Yes. Representative Ducharme,
Yes.
Senator Searway is absent. Senator Rafferty is absent. Representative Pebworth,
Yes.
Representative Austin,
Yes.
Representative Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss,
Yes.
Representative LaRochelle,
Yes.
Representative Roberts,
Yes.
and Senator Curry.
Yes. Is with 10 in favor and 1 opposed, the motion passes, and we will expect to see the bill back on language review.
Yes.
With that,
Sorry, may I
yes,
ask
please go ahead. That's
Representative
right.
Andrews, what's your minority report?
I'll just go with a clean on not to pass.
Okay, thank you.
With that, we'll close the work session on LD 1793, and we'll open the work session on LD 1800. Representative Bernard. You're muted.
Sorry, my question is not about 1800. I did want to bring back a point of order that was at the beginning of this meeting. If you wouldn't mind, Senator Curry, would you please introduce, we have a new member of the committee, kind of wrap us up on the changes that have been made on the committee, because I think some people don't know. And I'm not sure if there was another question that Representative Andrews had, but if we could clear that up before we go further.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. In terms of the change of committee, so if folks are watching and are not aware, on Tuesday morning, Senator Louis Lucchini announced his resignation from the Senate. And so the presiding officer, the Senate President, has assigned Senator Rafferty to join this committee. I was hoping when I would introduce him, I planned on introducing him when he first showed up. So since he's not here, I'll just announce that Senator Rafferty is a member of the IDEA committee. He is the third senator for the IDEA committee. And I don't think if there's a question on like chairmanships that I will just redirect that all to like where it goes to in the chain. I'll just redirect everyone to either the House clerk or the Senate clerk or the Senate secretary that serve as the parliamentarians for the bodies. So, and now we'll go to LD 1800 and Ms. Olson.
Okay, so LD 1800. This is an act to amend the laws governing the Small Enterprise Growth Program. This bill amends the laws governing the Small Enterprise Growth Program, which is also known as the Maine Venture Fund, to permit the Small Enterprise Growth Board to invest in certain privately managed venture capital funds. And it also makes certain technical changes to their statutes, in particular to the board. Individuals who testified in support and no testimony was provided in opposition or neither for nor against. There are no identified potential issues or technical problems. Representative Andrews did ask for a list of possible venture capital funds in which the Maine Venture Fund might consider investing should the legislation be enacted. Mr. Powers followed up with a response to Representative Andrews' question. I've attached his response here. It's also available on the testimony page. I'll just note things uploaded for him were uploaded by Mr. Norbert. So you'll notice his name in the name field, but it says FAME/ or FAME and MVF. And those are documents from Mr. Powers. And so again, these are just possible funds that could be considered, but all of these individuals have expressed an interest, or sorry, they're not individuals. All of these groups have expressed an interest in leveraging Maine Venture Fund funding. They're also Maine-centric in their investment approach and would complement MVF well, according to Mr. Powers, and magnify their investment by investing dollars alongside significant co-investments from others. So such groups are, for example, Maine Health's Innovation Fund, CEI, so Coastal Enterprises, Inc. Ventures Fund, the Gulf of Maine Ventures, the Rue Institute at Northeastern University, and the Maine Angels Dirigo Fund. And MVF also noted that they've shared the idea with the University of Maine and could support technology, commercialization, and funding efforts there as well. I will note Mr. Powers was with us, but he had to step away for another appointment. So I'm not sure if he's actually actively listening at this time to answer questions related to this. The preliminary fiscal impact statement has been issued as minor cost increase to the general fund, and the details are that the additional costs to the Small Enterprise Growth Program associated with the provisions of this legislation can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. We have their periodic report for fiscal year 21 if you'd like to know more about their programs. And I've attached the statute regarding the Small Enterprise Growth Program as well, if anyone wanted to look at the big picture. Oh, and Mr. Powers is here.
Does anyone have questions for Mr. Power? Let's start with Ms. Olson. Any questions for Ms. Olson? Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed in the bill, there's language regarding paying fees to a fund manager. Do we have any idea who that potentially would be or how much fees would cost? Is there any kind of schedule in writing anywhere? Or is there a standard practice with this kind of stuff?
I'm not aware of this, the sort of how that would look or what the standard practice is. So I would defer that question to Mr. Powers, who has, because he's who has more experience and probably in thinking about doing this, knows what that might look like on their end.
That might be a question we could bring up for Mr. Powers in a moment. Are there any other questions for Ms. Olson? Seeing none. Let's, Ms. Reed, if you can move Mr. Powers over to the panelist. I'm continuing looking for some language that sounds more inviting than that. Escort them up to the table. Nothing quite sounds right. So welcome, Mr. Powers. Did you hear the question that Representative Andrews had?
I did. Thank you, Senator Curry. And it's a good question, Representative Andrews. Thank you for that. The fee schedules would be negotiated at the time of investment or considering investment in any of these funds. But there is a typical fee schedule for fund managers, which is referred to usually as 2 and 20, which is 2% of the investment that you make is a fee for managing and investing every year. So let's say you made a $100 investment, $2 every year would be shaved off of that for the fund manager to do their thing. And then there's a 20%, typically a 20% share of any successful investments that are returned to investors stay with the fund. So 80% of the upside in the case of a good investment that had a good exit would go back to Maine Venture Fund to be recycled. And when you combine those two, when we looked at it, it in most cases is less than the fee that we would incur by paying our managers to invest that directly. So it's a kind of a wash at the end of the day between the investment that we make and the overhead costs that we spend to look at companies individually versus working with others to do that on our behalf.
Are those rates locked in, or they tend to change over time?
No, that's a fairly standard industry structure that's been the same for the last 50 years. So when you, and to answer your question maybe more directly, when you negotiate an investment in any fund, you lock in the structure. So there's not any floating adjustable rates or anything that changes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Chair recognizes Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Powers, for being with us. Would it be possible for you to share, excuse me, share an example of a project that you have had in the past that is publicly appropriate to talk about, to just kind of give all our folks and myself a vision of what some of this work that can be accomplished?
Sure. So we have, Maine Venture Fund has been making investments in Maine companies for the last 21 plus years. And oftentimes when we make investments it's at the very early stages of a company, maybe somewhere between 2 and 10 people. And then we're hoping, of course, that that investment helps the company grow to hundreds of jobs in Maine. A couple of examples of successful investments that we've had are Certify, which you may know. That investment was a 7 times return our investment. And that, of course, the job growth was significant there. Blue Tarp, many of you are familiar with Blue Tarp, which sold to Capital One a couple of years ago. That's a financial services firm that grew from 2 people when we invested to 160 people when it exited. So that's always exciting to see. Took a little longer than we hoped, 16 years, but that was a great outcome for growth in Maine, and all of those jobs have stayed here since that exit. We had a 8x return from Recruiter.net, which some of you may be familiar with. Smaller company, returned capital back to MVF much faster. Pika Energy is a recent 3x return. So there's lots of different examples across industries, and some of them take 16 years and some of them take just a couple of years. But again, the way we're structured, any of those investments that come back from those successes get reinvested into main companies. So overall, we've grown from 5 million in funds when we started to about 20 million today.
Thank you so much. That's good news and that's encouraging. We appreciate that.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Powers? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Ms. Reed, thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Pebworth.
If it's appropriate, I would move on to pass.
There's a motion, and is there a second? Chair recognizes Representative Austin as the second. And so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is the committee ready for a vote? Seeing no more hands, I will ask Ms. Reed to call the roll call.
Representative Geiger,
Yes.
Representative Andrews,
No.
Representative Collmore,
Yes.
Representative Ducharme,
Representative Ducharme, are you with us?
did he turned his audio and video off. I'll go back to him in a second.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Representative Pepworth,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just got a note from Representative Ducharme who had to leave for a groundbreaking.
Great, thank you. Ms. Reed, can you repeat your last roll call?
Representative Pebworth,
All right, yes.
Representative Austin,
Yes.
Representative Bernard,
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss,
Yes.
Representative Larochelle,
Yes.
Representative Robert,
Yes.
Senator Curry.
Yes.
So Searway,
And
Rafferty, and Ducharme are absent.
Okay, with 3 members absent, 9 members in favor, 1 member opposed, this motion has passed. And ought to pass. And Ms. Olson, do you have, I assume you need a minority report.
I do, and also, I'm sorry, the motion was made by whom, and it was ought to pass?
It was from a motion by Representative Pebworth, and it was seconded by Representative Austin, and it was ought to pass.
Okay, I'd just like to note that it does have a fiscal impact, so it needs to be ought to pass as amended.
Ought to pass as amended. So sorry, that wasn't clear.
Oh, I missed it, so it was
Oh.
probably me.
Ms. Olson, do we need to have another roll call?
I don't, in this
Situation, you're.
is there anyone that would have an issue with not doing one? I think you're probably fine. I think this is pretty,
If
pretty
anyone,
standard.
then we're going to be ought to pass as amended. Raise your hand now if you have any concerns about the vote you just cast.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, great. And then Representative Andrews, what would you like your minority report to be?
Yeah, I was a no on this just to get a divided report. I think it's probably a good bill, so I'm just ought not to pass.
Okay.
At this point, we will, with that vote complete, we will close the work session on LD 1800. I will ask to hand the gavel over to Chair Roberts for the final work session.
Okay. Oh, Representative Collmore.
Thanks. Just a point of order question. Can we actually continue if we don't have a senator?
We don't. We cannot take any votes, I believe. Let me,
Senator Steerway shot me an email a little bit ago saying he should be here soon.
I think we might be able to get,
I believe, Chair Roberts, I believe we are able to continue. We have to start with a quorum. I believe we're able to continue, but we can't vote without a senator.
right. Do you want to reach out to Senator Rafferty and let him know? And I'll start continuing on. Representative Andrews.
If we do have rules in writing, this might be a good time to check them to see how to proceed. So I'm sure it's probably written out somewhere. Not the first time there haven't been two senators on a committee.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
you want to provide clarification here as far as
The-
voting and quorum?
So if I look at the committee rules of procedure, which I believe are available on the Maine Legislature's webpage and were provided to legislators at the beginning of session, during the beginning of the biennium. My understanding of the reading of it, it says, not my understanding, this is what it says. A quorum is not required for a vote on a motion to adjourn. All other votes require a quorum. If 7 members of the committee are present, but there is not a senator among those present, the committee may take such a vote only with the authorization of the president of the Senate. A quorum must be present to start a meeting. If 7 members of the committee are present, but there is not a senator among those present, you can only start a meeting with the authorization of the president of the Senate, or after notifying the office of the president of the Senate that no senators are present and after 30 minutes has passed since the time of notice was given, and a quorum is not required to continue a meeting.
So I believe we are okay to continue. And with that, I will open up the work session for LD 1785, an act to address staffing shortages in critical public safety jobs through economic incentives. And Ms. Olson, I think did everybody get the amendment? If you wanna.
I'll just make a note. I actually did not receive the amendment until moments ago. I was not aware that there was an amendment when I was preparing the work for today. So I'm actually at a disadvantage compared to the rest of the committee at this point. I did an analysis on the original text of the bill and pulled a lot of information that the committee had asked for. Happy to go over any and all of the information provided in the bill analysis as the committee would like, but as there is an amendment, which I have not read, I literally just opened it. I haven't even looked at it. I can't offer much by way of analysis on the amendment because I just received it.
Okay.
So I'm looking more for your direction on how you would like me to approach. I can pull the amendment up, but it's newer to me than it is to you guys.
Why don't we just have you go through it, just so everybody can see it who hasn't seen it, and then we'll go from there. Representative Andrews, can Ms. Olson continue on what she was asking?
I'm sure. I'd like to make a motion to table to give Ms. Olson some more time to review the amendment. And when we're fully staffed, it might be a better, well, not fully staffed, but have our full slate of legislators on board, might be a better time to go through this. So I would make a motion to table LD 1800. Thank you.
There's a motion on the table.
I'll second that motion.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion to table. Ms. Reed, can you take the roll, please?
Representative Geiger,
Yes.
Representative Andrews,
Yes.
Representative Collmore,
Yes.
Ducharme is absent, Senator Shearway is absent, Senator Rafferty is absent, Representative Petworth,
Yes.
Representative Austin,
Yes.
Representative Bernard,
Yes.
Representative Hassenfist,
Yes.
Representative LaRochelle,
Yes.
Representative Roberts,
Yes.
and Senator Curry.
Yes.
Okay, so I believe that was a unanimous vote to table. And with that, I will close the work session for LD 1785 and turn, nope, okay. Sorry, Representative Pepper shaking her head and I questioned myself.
My apologies. I was reading the IDEA committee slate, which still says 1800 because we were moving along so quickly.
And I guess I will turn to Ms. Olson now and see if you have anything else for us, since this is everything on our schedule for today.
I do. I have two things for you today. One is a language review for LD 1810, the engineering bill we voted last meeting. And then I'd like to briefly discuss the Government Evaluation Act. I just wanted to go over what we're doing on Tuesday in advance. So as individuals may be reading the reports this weekend, have some idea of how of the process.
Okay.
I'm going to start with language review. So the committee's vote, LD 1810, this is unanimous of those who voted. An act regarding examination and applications for professional engineers and engineer interns. The committee amendment was to adjust to properly sort of reflect the original qualification requirements as it regarded references. So slight alteration to the language at the bottom that says that these new applications must, for applicants for licensure as a professional engineer, they need to submit 5 references.
Excuse me, Ms. Olson.
Yes.
I apologize. Can you just zoom in some more for us?
Oh, sure.
Please? Thank you.
No, that's fine. I always forget, of course, different screens, so different sizes. Thank you. For applicants for licensure as a professional engineer, submit 5 references, 3 of which must be from professional engineers and be current at the time of the new application. And for applicants for certification as an engineer intern, submit 3 references that are current at the time of the new application. So a professional engineer still needs to submit 5 references, but only the 3 from professional engineers need to be current at the time of the new application, so they can continue to use the other 2 references that they provided or had in their previous application. And in down here, we have the language of just 3 references for the engineer intern certification, and struck the word character in the original qualifications section in regards to the engineer interns references. So it just reads 3 references as well. The committee has no issues with the language as presented. This will be processed. And
Not seeing any hands. Let me just scroll because it's on a.
oh, sorry. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. No questions or issues from the committee. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And then, and I will be brief, I just wanted to talk about the Government Evaluation Act. I sent out the single sort of handouts to the committee in the materials today as well. So on Tuesday, we'll be hearing from the 2 agencies who are being evaluated or reviewed by our committee this session. So the State Government Evaluation Act. So the purpose of it, enacting legislation, reviewing agency rules, and appropriating funds are the most familiar ways in which the legislature directs and conducts oversight of executive branch functions. The State Government Evaluation Act establishes another method through which the legislature fulfills its duty to serve as a check and balance on agencies that administer state laws. So for the process, which I think is what we're most wanting to talk about today. So each DEA review is conducted by the Joint Standing Committee of Jurisdiction. There is a schedule outlined in the Act, which gives us the two agencies who we are reviewing this session, the Maine Development Foundation and DECD. The committee initiates a GEA review by notifying the agency in writing that it intends to proceed with the evaluation, triggering the agency's duty to compile and submit a program evaluation report. We did those letters last session. The report for DECD has been submitted, and we are waiting on MDFs, but they have been in communication, and it should be in our hands tomorrow. And so when I do have that report, I will send out all the materials together in one email, just so people can have it at the top of their emails as well. So both reports, and I'll send out this document as well again. It was possible and continues to be possible for the committee to ask for additional information to be provided. In most cases, committees invite the agencies to present their reports at a committee meeting, allowing committee members to pose clarifying questions, and if additional information is desired, to request that information at that time. We have scheduled the initial reports from those agencies for Tuesday next week, starting at 1 p.m. So we do have work in the morning, and for however long that takes us, and then we will return at 1 on Tuesday for the reports from the GEA. And MDF will be going first at 1 and DECD at 2. The Act states that in conducting its analysis of the report, the committee may consider the following 4 bullet points: the extent to which the agency operates in accordance with its statutory authority, the agency's degree of success in meeting its goals and objectives for each program, the agency's degree of success in meeting its statutory and administrative mandates, and the extent to which the agency has increased or reduced filing and paperwork burdens on the public. So during our initial report, of course, the committee can ask clarifying questions. If additional information is desired, we will direct them to provide that information back to us at a specific time, and we will, as necessary, schedule follow-up meetings either with the department or just to review the information. After the committee completes its review and analysis of the reports provided, the committee submits its findings, any administrative recommendations, and if applicable, legislation necessary to implement those recommendations to the legislature. And that's done through me. I will write a letter that will contain that information. The report is due by March 15th. And if in terms of legislation, should the committee decide that legislation is desired as a result of the review of the agency, the process is similar to the committee bill. So we would submit that report requesting the legislation, and we would draft said legislation essentially as a committee bill, which would, in the standard practice, be put on the calendar and then referred back to the committee to go through the bill process, public hearing and work session. I'm happy to answer any questions that might exist at this point. I know before we do it, it might not make as much sense. And I would strongly encourage people in advance to review the reports. I do realize the MDF one is coming with a tighter deadline for review, but I'll get it to you as soon as I have it.
You could pop that down so I can.
I forget because I have 2 screens and you guys are all normal sized for me. I forget that I sometimes have it open on the other side. Sorry.
Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Representative Collmore.
So you said the MDF one is still coming, so I'm not missing that when I'm looking on the page.
That's correct. I've been promised I'll have it by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Representative Pepworth.
My question is about workload. And how we're feeling about how things are progressing. I know that moving 1785 off puts it somewhere down the road.
Is that for me or you, Ms. Olson? I can speak for the chairs that we feel that we're in a comfortable place in regards to deadline and workload. I don't believe we have any more bills coming to us. I think one just came. Ms. Olson, do you anticipate any other ones?
By the original list of bills approved by the presiding or by the Legislative Council, by titles and subject index, I believe I do still anticipate one or two. Of course, that's that list is of course not the final list, so it's hard to know.
And then we have our carryovers as well.
Correct.
Does that answer somewhat, Representative Hepworth?
I am reassured by hearing that the chairs feel comfortable.
Any other questions from the committee before we entertain a motion? Looking for a motion to adjourn. Representative Bernard.
I will move that we adjourn at this time. Thank you.
Seconded by Representative Andrews. Oh, show hands. Okay, that's everybody. And